We are all learners and we can learn together. Learning to learn is about empowerment.
Critical reflection.
As a collaborative team, we have identified the need for our learners to be more adept at self-regulation.
We want our classrooms to be learner-driven. That is why we have selected self-regulation as a collaborative goal for our practice.
With self-regulation being such a complex 21st century skill, we decided to consider student viewpoints via a Google form.
This allowed us to find out from them our area for improvement to support their learning.
With such great feedback from our community of learners, we selected goal setting and motivation as our first areas of focus to improve our practice.
Here's what the kids told us.
I need to be reminded about my goals, so I would like a goal book, a wall display or a digital format to help me with this.
Having our goals displayed in the room or the top of our timetables will mean we can see them easily every day.
We could buddy conference to discuss how we are going with our goals and set our next steps.
We should have real-time goal-setting conferences and discussions.
We get motivated when we use different digital tools that we choose to show our learning.
We get motivated when we get to choose what we learn because we can relate to it and it makes it interesting and engaging. Also, when something is new to you or when you are curious about something, it makes it really interesting.
We get motivated when we discuss our learning with our mates and the learning is fun.
We get motivated when we can listen to music.
We get motivated when we see motivational quotes around us.
Goal setting. We will give learners a choice of format to display their goals on. We're going to provide more opportunity to conference in class and through real-time platforms like Appearin.com and Seesaw. Boxer will also be used to record learning conversations for reflecting on later.
Motivation. We're going to provide time for learner-driven inquiries. We will introduce digital tools such as Kahoot, Blogger, and Edmodo.
We will run a demo slam for students to share other exciting learning apps they have found to share their learning. Collaboration will be at the heart of learning.
Now, I know for some of you, this really isn't much of a surprise. This kind of contrast between what we believe and what we do has been around for a long, long time, and I think most of us know it, but we maybe don't want to acknowledge it. I think we're going to have to acknowledge it right now, because I think that this contrast that we have between those two things is putting our kids' futures at risk at this point. The world has changed in some very, very powerful ways, and our ability to learn is changing on a regular basis. And I think we're going to have some very interesting conversations moving forward about the direction of schools, given this modern context, given this modern world in which we live. You know, schools were built for a time that really doesn't exist any longer. Schools were built for a time that said if you want to learn something, if you want to learn algebra or French or Shakespeare or whatever else, you have to be here at this particular time with this particular person, with other kids who are your age from your neighborhood to go through this curriculum at this pace and be assessed in this particular way. And that is the narrative that all of us carry. That is the narrative that all of us own on some level, because that's the narrative that we experienced. But the narrative now is beginning to crumble. The narrative of traditional schooling is beginning to break down. How can we create schools that are places for learning? Well, I think the first thing we have to do, all of us, as educators, as parents, as policymakers, is to go back to the beginning question and ask ourselves, what do we believe? And to articulate those beliefs out loud, to write them down, to share them with other people. And then, once we've done that as individuals, I think we need to come together as schools and articulate those beliefs together, to create principles, if you will, of what we think learning looks like in our schools, in our places, in our classrooms with our kids. And then finally, once we've done that, I think we need to align our practice to our beliefs. We need to see our beliefs around learning happen in our classrooms.
Change! Change!
Change!
We want the classroom to be less about teaching and more about the learning.
If we are constantly thinking about teaching, then that is all about us.
Let's make our conversations about learning, because that is empowering.
Change! Change!
Change!